Alright, I'm back with another little story thing going on. Also, as you can see, the background changed. I think this will be better because the light won't be in the way and y'all can actually see my face. And so I feel like it'll be easier that way. So, this story is about the time I went to summer camp. A different one. I've been to the same summer camp for the past several years. It was called Camp Anderson, and it was pretty nice. Anyone who's been there can attest that it's pretty good there. But my mom forgot to enroll me in time, so we went to one towards the end of the summer, I want to say it was. And we got there, and surprisingly, it was in this old person village, which was weird. And yeah, it was just kind of strange when I got there. Now, two people I met right off the bat was I can't remember her name. So for the sake of it, I'll call her Crab Hand Lady. She's important. Just 1 second, I'll tell you why her name is that. And Counselor Jeff. So I get there, and everyone's all there. Everyone, the counselors are there. I go to one of the counselors. She's some Asian lady. Couldn't be what's the word? Taller than about like my neck height. So I go to her. I shake her hand like, oh yeah, and I feel like, her hand kind of feels weird. Like she got calluses or something. So I look down, and she only has her thumb and her pinky. No, no, none of these fingers right here. And I was like, whoa, what's going on down there? But apparently she was born like that or whatever, and I was like, oh, it's fine, I mean, don't mean nothing, it's nothing. And plus, after I got used to her, I thought her hand was pretty cool. And then Counselor Jeff, which I didn't know was one of my counselors, but when I was getting introduced to everyone, I saw him along with several other counselors, and the main counselor who was showing me off to everyone was like, "Oh, do you know any of these guys, or do you notice any of these counselors?" And I was like, no." And then Counselor Jeff was like, "What the heck, man?" And so throughout the week, every time I would see him, I would be like, "Who are you?" And he was always like, "Come on, man." It was funny. It was funny. But every night after we do all of our fun and cool stuff, we would go to the pit because it was but before I go on with that, it was a Christian summer camp, so yeah, we go to the pit. It's like a giant sinkhole in the ground with a fire pit and like small earth benches, like they're made into the ground. Super cool. And the main counselor guy would go down there. He would talk. He would preach. He would go on and on and on, and then we would go down there and say something or criticize or compliment something about his speech, which was pretty cool. We did that every night, and it was pretty cool. The first day, I didn't do much. I just got I had to do a thing where I had to go to a pool so that all the counselors knew that I was like able to swim and stuff. And I swear, I met this kid, right, who could not float. He couldn't float. Every time he got onto his back, he would sink. It was the craziest stuff ever. You'd had to see it. It was bonkers. I didn't even think that could happen. Like, how do you not float? Like, he even held his breath and then tried to float, and then just nothing. I don't know. Maybe he was joking with me or something. Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, pretty uneventful first day. Second day, still not a lot was happening, but I did go to. I wanted to say this place was called what it was called White Sands, or it was called White Sands, and it was this small embankment off the river. And when I mean small, I mean like maybe two people can walk along at the same time. That's it. And then the rest of it is just this big old land, big old freaking forest off the side of it, and that's it. And the issue was you had to make a decision when you go there. You can do one. You can go there with your shoes on, but then you'd have to take them off, and then you have to put your sandy feet in your shoes, which would be freaking annoying. Or you can go there without your shoes, but then to walk back, you would poke your feet on every little rock and every little sand spur on the way, which sucked. And I tried both ways, and let me tell you, it was not fun either way. Although I was able to hitch a ride on one of the golf carts, counselor's golf carts on the way back, so I didn't have to worry that time. Anyways, throughout the week, I had a couple of different stories. Let me think of one. All right, no, I'll save the one for last. One time, it, So there was cabins, right? There was cabins, and then there was teams. So teams would be just from kids from any cabin or whatever. But your cabin was your cabin, no matter what. Like you have to stick up for your cabin shit. And as for the cabins, we had I don't remember anyone, but I remember Aiden, who was a dick. I ain't got nothing to say about him. And Mr. Luscious, like every other word out of his mouth was the word luscious, and I didn't understand why, but I found it hilarious. But anyways, back to the team. At the end of the week, we had to come up with a little play for the entire camp, and we were going through the ideas, yada yada. But since this other stigma was that we would always have water guns on us in case something that would be in case there was an announcement on the radio. That announcement being, "Hey, the water gun fight has started. Everyone get ready." Yada yada. Because they told us at the beginning of the week, everyone has to keep a water gun on them in case the call comes over the radio. And it was just like really, really, really tense every time we'd walk outside to meet our teams and stuff. But thankfully, we got into one of the little kid cabins when there was no little kids in them, so we were able to talk in there. And then suddenly the call comes on the radio, and somehow one of our enemy teams gets up onto our roof and then blocks us around the outside. Yeah, I remember I walked out there because I was like, oh yeah, I'm ready. 4 guys in front of me, 2 guys up on the awning on top of me, and then I just get pelted with water. It was bullshit. I think everyone else got away, but I got murdered. I got like killed on the spot, slimed out, dude. But yeah, that was fun. And oh yeah, as for the play, we got second place, like second to last placed. Yeah. That really sucked. I think the only reason we didn't lose was because I paid off the head counselor with a payday bar. So yeah, and also one night we were having there was like a gender only thing. We had the boys over here in this forest with like um it was hot dogs and pizza and stuff. And the girls' side, they were doing like I think they were doing makeup or something. I don't know. I'm not a girl, you know. But while I was out there, I met this guy. I want to say his name was like Hank or something. Big old burly dude, about my age. And he wasn't fat, but he was big. And when I mean big, he was big. And he was always talking about like, oh yeah, I could bench 300 pounds. And I was like, yeah, no, I believe him. I believe the guy. I don't think it was 300 pounds. I think he was saying like 400 or 500 maybe. But I wouldn't put it past him if he could lift the whole freaking town. But yeah, we were talking about songs. We were talking about weightlifting. He was a super cool guy. I like him. He was super cool. And then we all talked about our issues that we had in life and yada yada yada. And we were like, oh yeah, I'll make up for it because God forgives us all and yada yada yada. It was a fun little night. And then there was a no good bad day. For the second time in my entire life, I decided, you know what? Today is the day that I should go canoeing. The first time was with my uncle. Technically, he's my cousin, but he's like an uncle to me because he's way older. So I did that with him for the first time ever canoeing, and it was super cool. I caught a bass. I'll tell y'all that story one day, but that's the main gist of it. But for the second time in my life, I decided to go canoeing, which was cool. So I go out there, and I shit you not, Father Time and Trevor from GTA 5 were waiting out there on the bus, and I was like, what the fuck? Like the one guy literally looked like Trevor, and the other guy looked like he's been around since the Declaration of Independence was signed. That's not the point though. We get in the bus with all the other kids, and then they all get set off one by one in their canoes, and now I'm the last one. And I had my canoeing buddy. His name was Christian. I'm gonna tell you why I hate him in a minute. So, the first thing that goes wrong is Trevor, which I'll call him that because that's what he looked like, said, "Hey, blah blah blah. I won't tell you my name. Blah blah blah. Hey, you want to go down this canoe ramp?" And I'm like, "No." Because, well, firstly, it looks rickety as hell. 2, I'm probably gonna fall off of it. And 3, no, I'm not doing it. And then he said, "All right, come on, man, you gotta do it. Come on, come on." I was like, "Fine, whatever." I hoist the canoe up onto there. I clamber my way into it. They push me off of it, and almost immediately I fall off to the side. And then I fall into the water. I scrambled it tack on my life vest and I get back on the little dock and I'm like, can you just push me off, bro? And they were like, yeah, whatever. Christian gets in behind me, I get in there, and we start paddling. Yada yada yada, we're paddling, doo 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 doo. And as I'm paddling, because I'm the power, I'm in the back. No, the power's in front, and the steering's in the back. Yeah. So I was steering in the back, and he was pushing forward. What? Yeah, no, it's the steering. Is the steering in the front? I don't know. Point being, I was in the back. Okay, I was on the back of the canoe, and I was paddling along, and I see Christian's moving a little too much. He keeps adjusting himself. He keeps moving around. And I'm like, yo, dude, you want to stop? Yeah, cut that out. And after the fifth time of it, I'm like, dude, if you do not stop moving, I will crack you on the head with this paddle. And then literally a minute later, he capsizes the boat. And okay, look, thankfully there's a counselor boat in front of me, right? But when I tell you that this situation that I was in was horrible, it was. So I had to hold the paddle in one hand, and the straps of my life vest was wrapped around my other hand. And it was like negative below freezing water I was in, right? So I was trying to breathe, but my lungs were freaking shocked. So I was like, and I couldn't breathe. And I couldn't paddle either, because again, couldn't paddle in one hand, wrapped around in my vest in the other. So I'm just trying to shake my way up onto land. And when I tell you, land is like so small, it is. You think, like, when you get over to this outcropping by the trees, you're like, oh yeah, no, there's land. No, you can't even touch the ground. And only then, when you get up, like, right up to where the trees are, then you could barely touch the ground. So Christian pulls me onto the land somehow. I don't know how he does it, but I guess he just had adrenaline or some shit going through him. So he pulls me onto land. I pull the canoe onto land, and we dump out all the water after like 10 minutes, and then we put the canoe back in the water, and we get paddling. And then these guys come by. They were like splashing at us with the water, and I was like, oh, whatever. So I'm splashing at them again. And then one of the guys smacks the canoe out, not the canoe, the paddle out of my hand. I'm like, oh no, her canoe! And then Christian somehow capsized the boat again. Thankfully, it wasn't as bad this time. I wasn't having my hand wrapped around my life vest, and I was actually able to paddle to land. So, yeah. I get the boat back in position. I get it ready. And when the counselor comes over, he's like, okay, someone get in the boat with Christian. Put me in our boat. And I was like, whatever. I get into the boat. We get into the little 3-man canoe because the counselors had the 3-man one. I get over to White Sands, which was like the halfway point of our trip. And I get over there and I realize I see that one of the counselors has allowed everyone to get on the tire swing that jumps into the water, and I'm like, damn it, I could have just went to White Sands. Fuck. Sadly, I didn't, and I had to go through hell on water, so that was fun. But then we took a stop, knocked out our shoes, got ourselves ready, tightened our vests, and then they let me back in the canoe with Christian. Thankfully, we didn't capsize, but I did see the guys who were splashing at us earlier capsize, and I was like, ha 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 ha, and then Christian rocks the boat, and I just about lost it. I just about cracked him in the head with a paddle, and I just would have kept going, just would have kept on going down the river, just would have let him die right then and there. But I had self control, and I didn't try to kill him. I only wanted to. We get back on the land. I cuss Christian out. I get back on the bus. I go into my cabin. And I punch the shit out of my pillow. The end. Yeah, that might not sound too bad to y'all, like, oh, it was just, you only got sunk twice, but, oh, man, you had to be there. It was just utterly horrible. Never have I ever been in a more infuriating situation in my entire life, bro. But, yeah, and I'm, moving away from that, I met some pretty interesting characters while I was at the camp. I met this one girl who, I shit you not, wore the same beanie Invader Zim shirt and like sweatpants the entire time we were there, and I thought it was weird, like really weird. But she was whatever. She was chill. She was one of those what do you call it? Punk girls, I guess. I don't know. She was something like that, but she wasn't quite. And I got to be able to go with this little tiny group of friends. It was like the weirdo kids. It was this random goth chick, this super girly girl. Uh, I shit you not, the comic book guy from The Simpsons, and this super autistic kid who literally yapped to comic book guy for like an hour, for like all day about TF2 weapons. Yeah, that was super cool, and I kept listening to them. And I was like helping him explain it and stuff. It was super fun. But yeah, that was my little motley crew. That was me boys, and we were also able to sit next to the stage, so we were able to play the piano and stuff. And I'll tell you what, I was on some shit. Too bad it's the only time I ever touched the piano, but I got pretty decent at it. And thankfully, by the end of the week, I was able to go home and have a good rest. So at least that's something after the horrible canoe story. But overall, aside from the canoe of death, doom, and despair, it wasn't bad. It could have been worse. I could have like broke my leg or something, but it was whatever. Now, if you ever try to go to that camp though, don't. I don't know. I think it's shut down. I don't know why. I just think it is. Maybe they needed more old people space or something, but oh well. If you ever do try to find that camp though, I don't think it exists anymore. Although how you could, anyways, I don't know. Didn't exactly hint to where it is or what it is much or what even the name of it is because I don't remember. But it was nice, The goods outweigh the bad, which is something you look forward to when you're going out and stuff. But I will have more stories. All right, I promise. Yeah, y'all stay safe. Goodbye.